Six Flags Over Georgia just completed their long-awaited refurbishment and retrack of the Great American Scream Machine this past week, and I made sure to be one of the first people to ride it. But did it get any better, and do I still have all my teeth? Let's find out. What's up guys, Dr. Coaster here, and welcome back to another video on the channel, where today we will be talking about the current state of the Great American Scream Machine located at Six Flags Over Georgia. Before we get started, if you haven't already, then be sure to drop the video a like, as it helps me fight the YouTube algorithm. While you're at it, subscribe to the channel as well for more roller coaster and theme park content just like this. Great American Scream Machine had become quite the polarizing coaster in recent years, with some guests loving the classic ride and others, like myself, completely writing it off and refusing to ride it after a couple of rides because of how rough it rode. There were also those that enjoyed the airtime and layout of the ride, but couldn't enjoy it as much as they wanted to for the same reasons. Personally, I had this coaster ranked below the Joker Funhouse coaster for the second lowest in the park because of how strongly I felt about it. If you want to hear from newbie Dr. Coaster in one of my first ever videos on the channel, then following the conclusion of this video, be sure to check out my initial rankings of every coaster at Six Flags Over Georgia. I'll be sure to include it in the end card of this video. I definitely need to revisit those rankings, a lot has changed. As mentioned, Scream Machine ran unbearably rough before the refurbishment, but it also received new PTC trains following the closing of Georgia Cyclone, and those did it no favors as well. I never got to experience Scream Machine with buzz bars, but I can only imagine how great the ride was. It must have been full of airtime. Following the refurbishment, Scream Machine has kept these trains, and it definitely limits the amount of airtime you get, but that's nothing new. Keep in mind, I am tall and this probably played a role in my experience as well, and definitely the lack of room that I got. My restraint also came down a click or two throughout the course of the ride, and that's definitely the biggest complaint that I came away from riding Great American Scream Machine with. I managed to get on Scream Machine the second day it reopened, and spoiler alert, it's a totally different ride now. Gone are the days of the relentless jackhammering and the faded paint job, because Six Flags has now retracked almost the entire ride and spruced it up with over 400 gallons of red, white, and blue paint. The station also looks incredible, as you are seeing on the screen right now. Upon getting on the ride, I couldn't help but feel apprehensive heading up the lift hill as to what was about to unfold. I had really high hopes for this refurbishment since Georgia really lacks a solid wooden coaster. To be fair, I have not ridden Cannonball at Lake Winnie, but it's really out of the way and doesn't operate nearly as often as other parks. While Scream Machine isn't a modern wooden coaster by any means, and this is something that Georgia also still lacks, I am thrilled to be able to ride this every time I go to the park now. From the few rides I had last year, I knew that Scream Machine's first few drops have received work in recent years, so I expected those to perform well. After that second drop though, all bets were off, and I was shocked at how smooth the second turnaround was. The return trip was where you really had to brace yourself before, and I instinctually did just that on my first ride, before realizing that I could just let go and enjoy the ride. I rode this with a friend that also previously hated the ride, and this is when we looked at each other and knew that we had to get right back on. The bunny hills performed fantastic, and this was probably the strongest airtime on the ride, at least in the back. I got one ride in the back and one ride up front, and both were great, but the back felt a tad more thrilling. However, taking in the scenes up front is also incredible, and having the track right there in front of you is hard to top on an old wooden coaster. Now you're probably wondering, and as I have already been asked, what about the brakes? And rest assured that they are still brutal. But now it's not as much of a gut punch following the punishment you've just endured, and more of a funny reminder of Scream Machine's past. If you want some extra entertainment while you're at the park, hang out at the exit ramp and watch the trains come in. The reactions are priceless. This is also great to watch from the back row while riding on the ride. Definitely brace yourself pulling into the end of Great American Scream Machine. Your guard will be down from the way the rest of the ride performs, but the brakes are definitely still there. I wish I could physically show you just how smooth this ride is now, especially compared to what it used to be. So I encourage you, no, scratch that. I implore you to make it up to Six Flags Over Georgia as soon as you can. If you're from out of town, make sure to swing by the park when Air Force One opens at Fun Spot just down the road. It won't be the only red, white, and blue coaster worth riding home about, I promise. This is quite possibly a top 3 to 4 ride at the park now, depending on your preferences. And I definitely didn't expect myself to be the person saying that. I hated this ride before, and now it's awesome. Don't get me wrong, could definitely use some more airtime, but nonetheless, such a great ride. Six Flags saved this coaster, and I am so grateful for it. Thank you all for watching. Those are my thoughts on the new and improved Great American Scream Machine at Six Flags Over Georgia. Have you ridden Scream Machine at any of its previous forms? Let me know in the comments below, as well as what you thought of it. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to share it with a friend and give it a like. If you haven't already, then also be sure to subscribe to the channel for more roller coaster and theme park content just like this. Last but certainly not least, you can follow me over on Instagram as well, where you can find me at Dr_Coaster. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.